Hello and welcome to episode 113 of the Giddy Knits podcast. As always, I am Helen and I am coming to you from, oh, that didn't come out as smoothly as normal. I am coming to you from Dundee in Scotland, where I live with my husband Tom and my two boys, Arthur, who is 8, and Jasper, who is 5. Today is, didn't check this either, Monday the 7th of February. And as always, this is my crafty podcast where I talk about whatever crafty projects I'm currently working on. Hello, welcome. Welcome back to all my regular viewers and anyone that's new and checking out the channel for the first time. Thank you for coming along and I hope you enjoy the video. If you don't know, I am the dyer behind Giddy Yarns and I already said that this is a crafting podcast. Yeah, what have I got for you this week? I'm going to start off with a quick announcement section, mostly just a chat about our make-alongs. I've got a finished object, slightly controversial finished object, but a finished object nonetheless. I've got some works in progress to talk about. I've got a new cast on to talk about, a little bit of Yarny Goodness, and then the tiniest bit of shop news. Yeah, I think that's everything. Show notes. I have been doing some basic show notes that will be found in the drop down bit underneath the video. I have also been putting chapters or timestamps in there as well, so you can skip to the sections that you're most interested in, or yeah, you can if you've watched it, half of it, because sometimes that happens to me, certainly. If you've watched half the video and then you've come back to it and it's forgotten where you are, you can use those to find where you were again. Hopefully they're useful. We'll see. Yeah, is that everything I was going to ramble about? I think so. It's slightly later in the day. I usually record this first thing when I get back from the school run. But, well, actually, that's not true. Normally, Tom does a school run on a Monday morning, and I usually record this kind of first thing once he's back from the school run. But I had to do the school run today, and when I got back, I was hot and sweaty and a mess. So I didn't record then, and I had orders to pack, and I wanted to get them done and out the way before I sat down to record the podcast. So it is actually about 20 to 1 in the afternoon. The problem with that is that this room tends to get the afternoon sun. So it's a bit on and off in terms of how bright and sunny it is today, but if you see me squinting slightly, it's because the sun is starting to blare in the window. I've shifted my position around a little bit, so hopefully that won't be an issue in terms of the lighting, but we'll see. Also, if I'm checking my phone a little bit during today's episode, it's purely because we've got a leak in the downstairs hallway. I discovered it this morning after Tom had left for work. One of the boys pointed at the ceiling and said, "Mummy, what's that mark on the ceiling?" At which point I looked up and yeah, it looked like somebody had poured coffee on the ceiling. And it's not leaking significantly, it's not dripping at the moment, but there's definitely some very wet patches and water starting to come through. And Tom is ignoring all my messages and all my telephone calls because he's at work and he's probably put his phone away in the hope of getting on with his work. So I'm just keeping an eye to see if he responds to any of my messages because I don't know what to do. And it's freaking me out slightly. The perils of now owning our house is that we can't just ring the property management people and go, "Oh, there's a leak, come and fix it." We now need to work out how to do it ourselves or who we're supposed to contact for that kind of problem. And annoyingly, above it are both our ensuite bathroom, the main bathroom, and the airing cupboard, which has the hot water tank thingy in it. So there are multiple sources that the leak could be coming from. Yeah, it's putting me on an edge. Anyway, let's forget about that for a second and let's actually get into the podcast, shall we? Right, announcements. Make-alongs. As always, we have the Giddy Yarns make-along running, which is as long as you're knitting a project using at least 50% of my yarn, of Giddy Yarns, then you're eligible to enter whatever project you have finished. We do quarterly prizes for that one, so the next prize draw will be at the end of March. And as with all of the podcast make-alongs, you can find entries, you can enter on Ravelry, Mighty Networks and Instagram, and all the details of how to do that will be down below underneath the video. We also have a little make-along running at the moment, our mini make-along for the mini month of February. So any project that you're working on that uses only mini skeins or scraps less than 20 grams. You can do bigger projects, but you can only use 20 grams of each yarn, if that makes sense. And I had a question the other day about whether that had to be my yarn. Absolutely not. The only make-along I run that has a specification of being my yarn is the specific Giddy Yarns make-along. All my other make-alongs, you can use whatever yarn you want. You could use any indie dyed yarn, you could use any commercial yarn, you could even use yarn that you've spun yourself. Absolutely any type of yarn is fine for those. And again, entries and everything, details will be down below. There are a couple of really good threads running over in the Ravelry group with people kind of chatting about different minis projects. There's a great list of different projects you can make with minis over there as well. And I also popped up a post in the Mighty Networks group as well, where people have been chatting about minis and what they're working on. So come and chat for all of those things. The other little announcement that I had and wanted to just say before I get into talking about all the crafty stuff is that I will be at Unravel Yarn Festival Friday, Saturday and Sunday this weekend. I'm not vending, which I think I've said before, but I am helping out the little grey girl on her stall. I'm her booth buddy for the weekend. So come and say hi, basically. It would be really nice to see you. I'm quite excited to get a feel of vending Unravel without the stress of having to prep for it. It's going to be quite good fun. So I'm looking forward to that. I leave on Wednesday. I'm helping Jem with a few bits and pieces. I'm also acting as her driver. I'm driving a van for her. And then I will be back the week after. So there won't be a podcast next Monday because I'll be in Kent at Jem's house, helping her unpack after Unravel, basically. So there will no podcast next week. But if you do come to Unravel, then please come and say hi. Right, should we talk about some actual knitting content? I have a finished object. And as I said, it's a slightly controversial finished object because it's a single sock. I finished Tom's sock, which I knit using the colour of the month, my January colour of the month, inspired by the digital art that I shared. I've shared a couple of times on the podcast, I'm sure. So this is the sock, all finished. It doesn't quite fit on my sock blockers properly because they are designed for a size 5 to 6 foot as opposed to whatever size Tom's feet are. But I'm quite pleased with it. And it is a finished object because, as I've said in previous weeks, I am knitting him odd socks. So I took a 50 gram, I basically took a 70 gram sock set and used it to make a sock for Tom. I did 70 stitches for 70 rows for the leg, German short rope heel. I think it was something like 82 rows for the foot. And then I've done an umbrella toe, which is, it's a pattern by Kay Jones of the Bakery Bears. She created a pattern called the Umbrella Socks, which uses both the umbrella toe and heel. The umbrella heel is an afterthought heel. And I really like the toe as a heel. It's basically the same pattern, but you use it as a heel. And I've used it as an afterthought heel a couple of times and I really like it. And I can't remember why I decided to do this one. I do know why. Because this sock is 72 stitches. And on my phone, I have, is it the Knitting Bee app? I don't know. It lets you put in like counters for whatever you're working on. So I've got my standard toe in there so that I know that basically for the first 16 rounds, you alternate between decreasing and just knitting straight, decreasing, knitting straight. But that's what it is for however many stitches I use for a sock, but that wouldn't work for a 72 stitch sock. Whereas I did have the 72 stitch version of the umbrella toe saved in there with all the details of how many rows I need to knit before the decreases, so I could just count it off. It's hard to explain this app. I'm wondering if I can show you. It's brilliant and I would really recommend it. It's called Bee Count. And you can pop in, let me turn the brightness down on my phone and that might help. That's going to be too far down. I can't find my brightness now. I've turned the brightness down. Okay, so it's called, no, that's down too much now. It's called Bee Count. And what you get is you can have, you can set things up in it. And then when you go in, you can put in what you're doing. So for the umbrella toe, for example, I can put in counts of the fact that I knit the first 6 rows, then there's a decrease row, then you have to knit 5 rows, and you can put counts in. So I'm able to just put in every time I finish the row, I can tap it and it counts. So I use it quite regularly, and the same with my other toe. I can do 1 decrease, 1 knit, 1 decrease until I get to 8, and then it's all decreases from there. So I find it a really useful little app. It's called Bee Count. I think it was free, but it's handy. But anyway, basically all of that to say the reason I put the umbrella toe in was because I had a 72 stitch version already in there ready to go, which made life a lot easier. So yeah, 1 finished sock. I'm going to tuck these away a bit. He's obviously tried this on because I haven't knit him socks for a long time, so I wasn't 100% sure on sizing and things like that. So he tried it on as I was working down the foot to make sure I got it the right length, and this fits perfectly. So I've written down the recipe that I used and I'm going to try and do them all the same. So they will all match but also be odd, if that makes sense. So yeah, that's January's. I have already dyed up February's colour of the month. Not all of it, but just enough that I've got some to take photos and stuff of. I'll dye some more up later in the month. And I've already caked up one ready to go for Tom's next sock. So this is it here. Doesn't give you the best idea when it's in a cake form, but it's a little sneak peek of the colour of the month. I won't share the inspiration image yet either. I'll wait until I've got some properly skeined up. But yeah, that will be his next sock. I also haven't decided on the colour of the mini yet for this, so I will need to grab one of those, but I thought at least I could get it cast on and started. Okay, so that's that. What's next? Trying to find places to put things. Works in progress. Carrying on with the sock theme, I have finished one of my poinsettia socks. So that was quite nice to get that done. I didn't do a contrast toe. I quite like, with self-striping, I quite like to just put in a contrast heel and not do a toe. I just like the way that looks. So that's what I did. I can't remember how many rows I did. I don't think I counted rows actually on the, I didn't count rows on the leg. I just did repeats. And then I did my normal foot, and I've just done a normal toe. I think it's, I'm not quite sure which one it is. I think it's a wedge toe. It's one of the Helen Stewart, one of the ones from the Helen Stewart pattern. And again, standard German short row heel. And I've cast on the second one. I haven't got very far. I've just started. Because I cast these on initially as just a swatch, and I wasn't necessarily planning to make a pair of socks, I only did a very short rib. I basically did the rib. That's not going to focus. Let's use this one. I basically did the rib in the, that's not going to focus either. Oh, there we go. I basically did the rib in just one colour. So I ribbed for the first section, and then I went straight into knitting straight once I changed colour. So it's got the tiniest little rib at the top. One thing I was going to say about matching self-striping socks and how I do it. There's lots and lots of ways, I'm sure, but what I do, and I find the easiest, is, and it gives this little effect that you can see, hopefully you can see just there, except again, like, oh, there we go. So I don't know if you can see there, the very, very top of the cast on edge has a slightly different colour. So basically what I do is I will find, oh, I'm near a colour join. I will find the colour join in the stripe, and that at that point of the colour join is where I will put my slip knot. and then I'll do my long tail cast on, and that gives you that effect. And it means that when you start the second sock, because you're starting your slip stitch at exactly the same point in the colour change, so obviously it would be at the point in the colour change between the grey and the dark pink, your socks will match. So that's how I always do it, and I like that effect of the little line on the top as well. I quite enjoy that. Right, what else was I going to say? Yes, so these will just now be, again, nice, easy, mindless knitting, because it's all just in the round, really nice and easy, and hopefully I will get a bit more done on those. I haven't touched any of the other socks that I talked about last week, of course, but I have done a little bit. Well, I've done what felt like a significant bit on my armour sweater. But of course, when you actually look at the amount, it doesn't look like much at all. But while I was knitting it, it felt like a lot. So I spent most of Saturday working on this, and I've added about that much to it. That's where I was last time I showed this to you, and I've added about that much to it, which doesn't sound much, but it's getting there. I've got, how long have I got left before the, oh, I don't know, because I can't open the thing. I've got 8 more rows, and then I finished the raglan shaping. So that's quite good. And then I think I don't know what size I'm working. Oh, and then I think I can divide for the sleeves. Yeah, and then I can divide for the sleeves. So I'm getting there with it. I just really want to get those 8 rows done, because getting past the sleeves will make a big difference, because obviously it will reduce the number of stitches, and I should be at a point where I'm just going round and round, so it's going to be much easier to just pick up and work on. But yeah, if you've not seen this one before, this is the armour sweater, which is a pattern by Maddie Harvey. It's a top-down raglan sweater with this gorgeous kind of string of pearls effect across the top of the yoke. And then it has this colour comes back in again, I think, for the ends of the sleeves and around the bottom of the body. But yeah, I'm really, really pleased with the colours. I'm using 2 of my colours. So this is Deep in the Woods is the dark green, and Granny Smith is the speckled green. It doesn't show up very well. It's that one. Is the speckled green. So yeah, I'm hoping to get this finished for March so that I can wear it to East Anglia. I just need to work on it more, but some progress has been made. I have picked it up, and look, I'm going to move my little progress keeper right now so that I can see, next time I show you this, we'll be able to see how much I've added to it. I always find that motivates me slightly more. I've also, again, put a tiny bit more into my Cupid's arrow wrap. I think I've just finished off one of the colours. So again, you've seen so much of this, I'm sure, although you didn't get to see it last week, so it's less like you're seeing it every week. But this is the Cupid's Arrow Wrap, which is a pattern by Ellie of Craft House Magic, and I'm knitting it with the Spectrum Fibres 2020 Advent Calendar. Started it in 2020, but I didn't finish it, obviously, because I'm still going on it now. And I've added this sort of semi-solid bright, this is blow your head off bright, like highlighter yellow, in this last week. And I've just started now on the green, which is the next colour. So it's coming along slowly. Each week I seem to be adding one colour, which is not really fast enough. I need to do a bit more on this. I'm trying to decide what I should take as train knitting, because going down to Jam, I'm going all the way to Kent. So it's quite a significant journey. I think I've got like 5.5 hours on one train down to London, something like that anyway. So I've got some significant knitting time, and I'm trying to decide what would be best to take. Part of me just wants to take socks because I know it will be easy and it takes up less room, but part of me thinks actually something that is a bit more involved might be good as well, because I won't get as bored. So this could be a potential. And again, I'm going to move that progress keeper now so I don't forget. And then we can see how many colours I managed to add in. It'll be 2 weeks, of course, because there's no podcast next week. It'll be 2 weeks. So we'll see. Do you reckon I'll probably only manage 2 colours? But we'll see. We'll see. Oh dear. It's still coming along slowly. And then I've got one more work in progress that I picked up. I don't think I've showed you this. I'm now looking back. No, we just talked socks the week before, didn't we? And then it was the monthly roundup. So yeah, I made a start on the next square of my colour therapy stitch in time blanket. That took a lot to get the words out, didn't it? As I said in the monthly roundup video, this was one of the things that I would like to try and get done in February. I'd like to try and finish a block of this. So I am on the 3rd square of the block. I've done the first 2. And I'm just working on that 3rd square as well. So a little bit of progress. I've got all the colours all lined up in here. So you can see they're the next colours for the top of the block. And yeah, just takes a little bit of sitting down and finding some time, doesn't it, to work on it. But a little bit of progress has been made on that. I think I told you the stories of the knitting needles, didn't I? Yes, I have hundreds of these knitting needles and they keep going missing, but luckily I bought too many. So that's all works in progress. But as I did say, I do have a new cast on. I know I did say that I wasn't going to cast on anything new, but that's gone completely out the window because not only have I cast this on, I've also got yarn caked up living in this bag here, which I can't show you yet because it's for something that can't be revealed until March, I think. But I've dyed it all up and I thought I would cast on a sample that I could use in the photograph. So I think I'm going to cast on a fuss-free festival shawl with the colourway. But I can't show you that yet, but that's going to get cast on. And obviously Tom's next sock is going to get cast on. So yeah. I'm also itching to cast on another garment because I want to use one of my Narnia Collection colourways to make a garment, and I've already bought a pattern and tempting. Anyway, new cast on is, Tom still hasn't looked at his messages. I cast on a pair of mittens because the boys have been saying about wanting some new mittens for ages. Arthur's they're still okay, they fit him, but he says he gets annoyed because he has to take them off to open his snack in the playground. And Jasper only has 1 mitten because one of them went missing, and to be fair, they're a little bit too small for him. And in the Mighty Networks group, one of you lovely viewers shared a pair of mittens that you'd just finished, and they're the Tinsel Mitts by Andrea Mowry. And I loved the version that was knit with, so basically it's fingerless, so they're convertible mitts. So the main part of the hand is fingerless, and then you knit on a flap that goes over the top. So that's what I'm doing at the moment. So I basically did this last night. And this is Jasper's one. I let them go into my stash and pick out some DK yarn to decide which yarn they wanted. Jasper picked this skein, which has been in my stash for absolutely ages. And although they're going to be quite a luxurious pair of mittens and they're probably going to felt horribly because this is an 80% merino, 10% cashmere, 10% nylon. It is 3rd Volt yarns. There we go. It's 3rd Volt yarns, and the colour is Vulcan High Command. And I bought this probably 3 years ago, or maybe even 4 years ago at Unravel. And it's been sat in my stash ever since. I'd initially planned on making Tom something with it, but he has hats and cows and all the things he wants really, so I couldn't think what I would make him. But Jasper picked it up. He wanted something red and orange, so that's what he's getting. Some little mittens in that. And then Arthur picked this colourway, which is Bumbling Yarns. It's pretty, isn't it? And it's her Earth Day colourway. So Bumbling Yarns is Laura, who is the Lonely Knitter. She's also the organiser behind the East Anglia Yarn Fest as well in March. So he's going to have a pair out of these. I kind of want a pair out of these, and I'm wondering whether I will manage to get a pair for him and a pair for me out of this. We'll have to see how it goes. But that's my new cast on. I'm hoping, actually, it shouldn't take too long to finish these because, I mean, I knit all of that one in an evening. And then I'm on the ribby bit of that, so it shouldn't take too long. Relatively simple and easy little knit. The other thing I was going to show you as a new cast on, I actually finished right back in the middle of January, but I didn't show you because they come with a spoiler warning. But I started some blanket squares, or a blanket, or I don't quite know what. It's going to be a blanket. So I guess I started a blanket, like I needed more blankets on the needles. Anyway, I started a blanket with the Middle-earth minis from January, and I thought I would show them now because although I know some international people won't have received those, so I will give it a little bit of a spoiler warning. So if you don't want to see, then skip to this timestamp that I put on the screen now. But if you do want to see, then I'll show you. So I have crocheted up, I kept a set of 10-gram minis for me, and I have crocheted up some granny squares, just simple granny squares using the 10-gram minis. And basically what I did was I just worked out how big a granny square I could get using as much of the 10-gram mini as possible. And I'm just going to join them all together at the end of the year. I've worked out I should have 60. So it should be a decent sized blanket, and they're not small squares either. They're washing out slightly in this light, and I think I've got a little bit of a light batch. No, I don't think I have. I think it's just washing out. So this one here is Thorin Oakenshield, and we have the Shire, and we have Bilbo Baggins. Oops. A Feast for Trolls, and Gandalf the Grey. And I've got the first test run of the February Hobbit minis, because February is also inspired by the Hobbit. I've got the first test run of those on the eras there, which you just can't see, they're just out of sight. So I'm quite happy with them, and I'm looking forward to getting those crocheted up as well. I need to do a photograph at some point, a little reveal photograph that I can share later in the month. But yeah, a new blanket started with the Middle-earth Minis blanket, Middle-earth Minis Club, because I feel like a Middle-earth Minis blanket would be perfect. So yeah. Okay. Oh, that's pretty much everything, I think. Yarny Goodness. I received in the post this week or last week another set of Scrappy Club minis from Laura at Bumbling Yarns, and these were inspired by The Witcher. Aren't they pretty? I am itching to start the blanket that I'm doing with these. I really am. But I mustn't start more blankets at the moment. I need to finish blankets, I really do. But I have such an idea for these, and I'm so excited about the idea, and it's going to be really fun, and I just want to do it. But yeah, I need to be sensible. I need to be sensible. So they're going to go and live up with the rest of them until I get a chance to carry on. Until I get a chance to carry on with my idea. And then the last little bit of thing I had was some shop news, which basically there isn't a lot of shop news. All I was going to say for shop news was that the next shop update will be February the 25th, and that will include, I don't know what else it's going to include, I need to work that out. It might just be the colour of the month, to be fair. We'll see how February goes. But it will definitely include the colour of the month. And I will be doing a bit more of the colour of the month this month because it was really popular in February and sold out relatively quickly. Not like sold out in seconds or anything, but like sold out in a week. So I'm going to do 70-gram sock sets again, 120-gram sock sets again, and I also had a request to do just plain 100-gram skeins without the mini. So I will make that available again as well, I think. Yeah, that's the plan. But that'll be it. That's all that's going to be in the update. Right, has Tom picked up his messages yet? No, he hasn't. I am going to go and check this leaky ceiling and see if it's getting worse or better. I've turned off the heating and the hot water in case it's, I don't know, whether that might affect the hot water tank. If I've turned off the hot water, might we not get as much water? I really don't know. In case that'll help. Of course, that means the house is now getting cold. And yeah, I don't really know what else to do at the moment. We'll see. Hopefully it won't get worse. Hopefully. Why do all these things happen to you? Now I'm going off on another tangent. But it's the end of the episode, so if you don't want to listen, you can go. Bye, I'll see you next week. No, I won't. I'll see you in 2 weeks. But, you know, why do these things always happen? Just when you've like the fact that we've just committed to having the garage converted. So obviously there's quite a lot of finances in that. And then like we're like, that's fine, we can afford to do that, we can work with that, that's fine, not a problem. And then all of a sudden something like a leak happens in your ceiling and I've got no idea how much that's going to cost to repair, and this terrifies me, especially being self-employed, because obviously, I mean, don't get me wrong, Tom has a decent job that covers the majority of our bills. My money is very much the money that we use to spend on luxuries and stuff like that. So if my income went, we would survive. We wouldn't be well off, but we would be able to pay our bills. Yeah, basically. But yeah, when you're self-employed, it's always terrifying because you're like, oh, I could just have a bad month and all of a sudden these extras that we manage to pay for, we can't pay for. And when things happen like roofs deciding to leak or whatever is happening currently, it's nerve-wracking. Anyway, I'm really rambling today. It's because I'm nervous. It's because I'm nervous about the ceiling. That's why. I am going to go. And I will see you again in 2 weeks' time. And if you're coming to Unravel, I will see you then. Please come and say hello and tell me you watch the podcast. And if you are a commenter or we've chatted on Instagram or something like that, let me know your Instagram or your Ravelry name as well, because I will probably not recognise you because I don't see you every week, even though I talk to you. Yeah, thank you for watching. Bye.